As the sun begins to set and the birds of prey around me are making noises because I'm out here where they currently reside, I have to bring some really sad news. It's been a very sad day in the world of falconry. Wayne Auty from Wise Owl Bird of Prey Rescue sadly passed away this week. He had a stroke last week. His wife messaged me a couple of days ago to let me know about it. And it's just so sad. And this is the third falconer that I know of that we've lost in this world in the last few months, in fact, just this year. So we had Angie early this year. Now, I don't know her personally, but I've heard lovely things about her. Apparently a really wonderful woman, a fantastic falconer. We had Dalton. Now, I've never met him, but I have spoken to him on the phone a few times, and he's written books. He was part of Project Lugger. So the Lugger falcon is an endangered species of falcon found in countries like Pakistan. I actually had a Lugger falcon for a while, hand-reared it, so it was a little bit of a noisy one, and it was a fantastic flyer. We called it Lady, little female, and fantastic flying bird. Don't have that bird now. Sadly, there was an accident, unfortunately. I'll maybe address that in another video, the dangers of keeping birds of prey sometimes. But yeah, fantastic little species, and one that most people haven't heard of, certainly in the general public knowledge. Lugger falcon, not so much as like the peregrine falcon or maybe the Seiko or the Gyre falcon perhaps. And yeah, real shame, because he is someone who I've seen all over sort of Facebook and magazines and falconry and things like that, and like I say, written his books and things like that. And he was considerably older than some of the other people we've lost, I guess, but still a great shame. I believe he was suffering from cancer. And then of course Wayne this week, so that's three. Now I'm going to show you a clip in a moment of an interview I did with Wayne a few years ago actually. I'll put a few little clips together, but the full video is on my channel. It's from a few years ago, but I'll put a link in the description below so you can see the full video if you like. And I only spoke to Wayne about 3 or 4 weeks ago on the phone. We have the odd catch up every now and then and talk all things falconry. And it's a real shame, because he did a lot of educational work with his birds, and he rescued a lot of birds of prey as well. In fact, sometimes he'd even call me and say, there's a bird of prey stranded, injured somewhere, we can't get to it, can you get to it? And we'd rush out and do that. So always in contact. In fact, I spoke to him last year. He had a minor blip health-wise. I can't remember exactly what it was. And I said to him, you know, are you thinking of retiring at any point? And I'll be honest, part of the reason I asked was, if he'd said, well, yeah, I'm thinking of retiring in a year or two, I'd say, well, look, when you do, give me a call and I may be interested to buy your business off you. Now, that isn't, I feel, like a selfish thing to ask, because he'd benefited financially from that. So many people have these little solo, sort of sole trader, what we call solopreneur businesses, not just in birds of prey, but in anything, and they just kind of fizzle out at the end and never have anything left over at the end for it necessarily. You know, that's why I'm growing my business, because if I don't, when I get to 60 or 70 years old, if I make it that long, what am I going to have? A few hours to sell? I'd like to leave something behind for my children, really. So I said that to him. Anyway, his reply when I asked him, thinking of retiring, was, oh, no, I love working with birds of prey and I'll do this till I die. Well, Wayne, my friend, you weren't wrong. You certainly did, and it's just a sad thing. Here's the clip anyway, a few little clips of the interview I did a few years ago. Wayne, thanks for talking to me today. I see you've got a lovely Harris hawk on your hand there. What's that one's name?
This is Storm. He's 8.5 years old. It's a Harris hawk. We've had it from 2 days old. Right. Because his parents were just eating the eggs, so we took him on when he was 2 days old after being hatched. Yeah. Been with us ever since.
Over the years, I believe you've had all sorts of different birds come in for all sorts of reasons, yeah.
All the usual ones like the tawny owls, barn owls, through to all sorts of more unusual ones, buzzards, goshawks. Now then, what do you call that white bird, that bird of prey that eats fish?
Osprey.
Osprey, we've had an osprey once as well.
Yeah. No, the osprey, I remember hearing about that. It was found in quite an unusual place, probably on a migratory path or something.
Yeah, it was in Wakefield.
Right, yeah.
There's been peregrine falcons poisoned in Barnsley. It's been a bad few years for people with, for the birds of prey.
Yeah, do you think there's been a bit of a rise in that kind of crime recently?
Well, I've had other people asking me that actually. Since the lockdown started, we've certainly had a lot more wild birds come in, but that's because a lot more people are out walking the dogs, they're in the gardens and everything else like that.
Yeah, you had a tawny owl release recently, which
yes, we did,
a lovely sort of surprise in the release.
It had been stuck down a chimney for a whole week, so it was dehydrated and starving. So we rehydrated it, fed it up nice and strong, and we took it back to where it was found and released it into a wood. and within 10 seconds of its release, his mate started calling from the opposite direction, and he started calling back to his mate, and they were reunited.
Wow.
Which was a really nice ending.
You've obviously got some captive birds of prey, including the Harris Hawk
Yes,
here
we
as
have,
well.
yeah. We've got 19 birds that live with us in total now.
Okay, and I know you use them for educational purposes.
We do,
School visits,
School
that's very
visits.
important.
Care homes, my wife does all the care homes with the elderly.
Yeah.
And then we also do work on a weekend, doing displays on galas and things like that.
yeah.
But the main part of our work is the school education.
You have a memory of yourself a number of years ago now coming in and helping with a display we did, and we thought we'd put your birds and my birds together.
Oh, the big one in York, yes, yeah.
And your raven, how old's your raven now?
7.
7, and what's his name?
Edward.
Edward, that's the one. Yeah, I remember one of the most surreal moments where I was flying him for bits of cheese, which is very odd when I'm used to eating chicken or whatever. And because he was a young raven, they are very intelligent birds, but they can be quite aggressive when they need to be.
Yep.
And that age, I remember you saying he just thinks everyone's a raven, so he's trying to show how big and impressive he is.
That's
and
it.
Ripping my arm apart. And I went, the raven here is, no, I can't do it. Any family or friends of Wayne or Bob or Angie are watching this, then my heart goes out to you. I know what it's like to lose somebody, and I wish you all the best. It really is so shockingly sad when these things happen, especially when they're sudden, and even when you know it's going to happen, it's a bit of a shock as well, really. I actually had a funeral that I went to just last week for someone called Jackie Morell, someone I've known for over 20 years, and she loved my owls and loved wildlife, but she actually rescued hedgehogs, and over the years hundreds of hedgehogs, which are in trouble of course, helped get them back to health and released back into the wild again. Such a wonderful thing she did. And yeah, even with her, we knew she was not very well, but it still came as a bit of a shock, really. When it comes to Wayne, I first met him because I just had my business at the start of things, really, back in 2011, and he had 3 birds at the time. It was a buzzard, a Harris hawk, and I think a barn owl, I can't remember, I'll have to look back at the photos. And that's all he had at the time. And I looked after them for a couple of weeks while I was on holiday. He even rang me a couple of times from Spain, or wherever he was, like, are they okay? Are they doing all right? And of course, when he came back, I remember being sat round the kitchen table, him and his wife Kat having a right good chat about things, and that's where it all started. And this is the thing about the world we're in. We meet people in all different kinds of places. We end up with friendships we don't expect and all that kind of thing. It all happens, doesn't it? And maybe some people think things happen for a reason, but someone like Wayne, I certainly learned a lot from, and I think he learnt from me as well. That's one of the great things about anything you do in things like birds of prey, falconry, working with animals, or even business. Really great to talk to people who are on the same sort of page as you are, same wavelength, doing the same kind of thing. Because in some respects, unless you're in that world, you don't really know exactly what it's like. Anyway, this video was a little bit different, a little bit sad, but I just felt like it'd be the right thing to do to pay respect to Angie, Bob and Wayne with this video today. So all the best, and we'll see you in the next video.